Hello everyone and welcome to Disney's YouTube channel. We are live in San Francisco at the Walt Disney Family Museum. My name is James, I'm hosting for you today, and we have tour extraordinaire Tyler.
Hi James, welcome everybody.
So before we get started, what can the viewers at home expect to see on this adventure?
Well, in this adventure, we're going to see some great original concept art. We're going to see some family artifacts, and we're also going to see a $1 million model of some place that you guys may be very familiar with, but we'll see that in just a little while.
$1 million.
$1 million model. It's very expensive.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Let's start with the room that we're in right now. What room are we in?
Absolutely. So we're in our lobby here. This is our museum founded by Walt's daughter, Diane Disney Miller, and she wanted to sort of set the mood with this lobby. We've got some great furniture behind me that I can tell you a little bit about.
Oh.
These are actual original furnishings from the apartment that Walt Disney had on the second floor of the fire station on Main Street at Disneyland. So it really kind of gives you a great idea of the aesthetic that Walt Disney would have in his private space. We know Disneyland is a very public area, but of course Walt still had to have his private space to entertain family, friends, and just be able to sort of reflect for a little while.
That's awesome. And they still keep a lantern there in his window every day.
That's right. Yes, you may know the lantern that's lit in that window. It's constantly lit to show that Walt Disney's spirit still lives on into today.
I love it. Now, what do we have right here? I know what we have right here, but why don't you explain it?
Sure. Well, I can tell you guys, we've got some Academy Awards of Merit, probably better known to you guys as Oscars. Walt holds the record for most Oscars won, and we have 26 awards from the Academy in this case here. My personal favorite being this very large one down towards the bottom center of the case. You can see it's got one big statuette, 7 little ones. James, can you guess what that might be for?
You know, I'm thinking it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
That is absolutely right. You are so correct. Very special award, customized just for that very wonderful animated picture.
And Walt Disney himself won 26?
We've got 26 personal awards coming Walt's direction, and so we get a very good sampling of that with these on display here.
He did good. He did good. So let's go ahead and move along into the next room. What can we expect to find in here?
Well, here we've got some of Walt's early years, sort of looking at what he did before he became the more famous man that we know today. We've got a very large piece in the first room, which is this ambulance from World War I. Towards the end of that war, Walt Disney actually served over in France, driving ambulances like the Ford Model T you see here. It sort of allowed him to, of course, help out the sick and wounded there, but of course also gave him a very worldly experience over in Europe.
That's awesome. Now, remember, if you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss a single Disney live stream, because they're amazing. You get to hang out with us, you get to go on these tours real time, and it's a great time. So we're going into the next room here. What do we have here?
So here we're getting into when Walt gets back from France. He eventually starts his own company, not the Walt Disney Company, but it's called Laugh-O-Gram Films. He sets it up in Kansas City, Missouri. They are making little cartoons there. Unfortunately, they aren't quite able to stay open for business. They do have to close down, but I think it's a really great learning experience for Walt, and it sort of shows him that even though you may not have success all the time, you can still continue to go on after your failures and go to try something brand new.
Yes, even Walt has his struggles, and he persevered. So, if you're having your struggles, don't worry. You got this. You got this. You can make it through. We actually have an audience question. If you guys have questions, make sure to submit them, and we'll try to answer some of them for you. So let's move along into the next section. What do we have here?
Well, here we're going to actually take a train on up to Hollywood, just like Walt did in 1923. So when you're ready, we can all aboard here.
Let's hop on the train here. This is the fanciest looking elevator I've ever been in. This is crazy. I love it.
Here we got curtains, we got windows.
And welcome back. The train went through a tunnel there and we lost service, but we're back. And if you're just joining us, we're at the Walt Disney Family Museum, and we are taking a tour. What do we have in this room? So
here, now that we're in Hollywood, just like Walt, we can see how he started the company that we do now know as the Walt Disney Company, all the way back in 1923. So it's a very exciting time for Walt and his brother Roy as they sort of start off on this new venture in their lives.
Now I'm seeing some old cameras here. Why exactly would Walt need a camera if he was doing animation?
Well, let's just give you an example of some of the equipment they could have used. He would actually still need a camera, though, even though they are dealing with, of course, drawings. You would have, let's say, a single drawing of the characters in a position. You would take a snapshot of that and then eventually switch that drawing out for a new drawing with the characters in a slightly different position. Eventually, you get enough of those different pictures back to back, sort of that flipbook effect, one picture going to the next, in creating a more realistic movement within the animated picture itself.
So they didn't have computers back then. They didn't have computer animation. They had to do it frame by frame, picture by picture. Amazing stuff. Now, what room are we entering into here?
Well, now we're entering into, of course, a very big highlight of the Disney history, which, of course, is the invention of Mickey Mouse.
It's minor detail.
And you may have heard of him at some point, but he's very, very big. He really allows Walt to go on and continue with all the great projects we know from later on. One of our prime artifacts here at the Walt Disney Family Museum, we have the original no drawings of Mickey Mouse. And they're on display. And you see the red background there. It's mounted drawings. And you can see they've circled a couple of the designs they like best. And if you look closely in the bottom right-hand corner, you even might see Minnie Mouse in there, showing she was born right around the same time as her partner.
So what is your favorite part of the museum?
Well, to be totally honest, it's a part I definitely will point out when we get there. I told you about that $1 million model that you'll recognize. That is my favorite part, so I definitely promise I'll highlight that when we get there.
All right, and that was a user question, so make sure you're asking away in the comments below. And you said that was the earliest known drawing of Mickey Mouse.
That's right. So it really is one of our prized artifacts here to kind of see how this all came together. Walt working with iWorks, Les Clark, some of the great minds at the studio to sort of design this Mickey Mouse character.
That's amazing. So now we have a big wall of pictures. They all kind of look the same. What's happening here?
Well, here, you've got this large wall, as you said, James. This is less than 15 seconds of the completed cartoon Steamboat Willie. So it really goes to show you, like we were talking about earlier, how you'd have just one picture the next, very small differences between each picture, but eventually you get enough of those in a row, you actually transition through the scene. But as you can see, you need about 24 frames per second, so that's why we only have 15 seconds up on the wall here.
And just thinking, just seeing this wall and understanding this is 15 seconds, and imagining how many pictures it took to make Snow White.
Exactly. I mean, think about that. It's a 90-minute movie, and you got 24 frames per second. So, and that could be multiple drawings with multiple characters in the scene. That would be a lot of work right there.
Yeah, there's a reason people didn't think it could be done. It seemed pretty unprecedented.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, they sort of bill it as Disney's folly. They don't think nobody's going to sit their cartoon that long. But, of course, Walt and the team proved them wrong on that one.
That's amazing. And remember, if you guys are liking this video, make sure you're subscribed. You ring that bell so you don't miss a single Disney live stream or video in the future. And if you're just joining us, we are at the Walt Disney Family Museum, and we're taking an amazing tour with wonderful tour guide Tyler. What do we actually have right over here? This is colorful, and I like it.
Oh, yes. So nice color catches your eye here because this is a collection of paint jars from the Disney Studios ink and paint department. As you can see, they have some very specific labels on these jars, really highlighting the different shades they would have to be working with.
I see a Donald set right there.
That's exactly right. That's a good example. They have one here labeled Aunt Sarah's hair. Of course, Aunt Sarah being the character from Lady and the Tramp. So some very unique color styles here.
That's just a wall I would have in my house. It just looks wonderful. Right. And that was used on all the cells in the original Snow White movie, and basically everything through. How long did they do that?
Really, even when they were doing black and white, they would still have those different shadings, black and white paint to put onto the cells there. But of course, once they got into color production, that was really going to raise the amount of colors that they would be able to show off to the public.
Let's see here. Adam asks, what year did the museum open?
Oh, that's a very good question, Adam. Our museum opened in 2009, so we've been here just a little over 7 years now. Still going strong, thankfully.
That's awesome. And actually, you know what? I'm seeing this over here. I'm excited about what this is. What is this?
Oh, yes. So this is our Moviola. So sort of an example of the sort of equipment that would have been used for editing back at this point in time. You can actually rotate this little knob here, tells you a little about it, and then actually goes through some of the drawings there to show you how you would just be going, again, frame by frame through what was filmed, and could, of course, edit it in more detail there.
Wait, let me try this. I want to do this.
Sure.
I want to do this. This looks fun.
Fast, you can go backwards, you can go forward.
Fast forward, rewind, back and forth. That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
All right, let's move along into the next room. I hear there's something very exciting over here.
Yes, we've got a great piece of equipment here. It's a very large piece of equipment called the multiplane camera. This is actually one of only 3 left in the world today. And so this is an amazing device first used in a Silly Symphony cartoon of Disney's called The Old Mill. And it really allowed the feeling that the camera is actually moving through the animation because you're breaking down the scenes into multiple layers. And so we can see actually right down here, beautifully large multiplane camera.
Oh my goodness. I'm such a gearhead, so I love seeing this kind of stuff. And this, correct me if I'm wrong, this was invented for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right?
Yes, they had done a little bit of experimenting, trying it out on that silly symphony, The Old Mill, but Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was, of course, their first feature-length animated film, the first to be able to use a device like this. And it really gave a much more three-dimensional feeling to the animation.
And how long was this in production?
Really, they were going to be able to use devices like this for decades, going forward from 1937 when The Old Mill came out. And I believe The Little Mermaid, which came out in 1989, was the last Disney production to really be using a multiplane camera of this magnitude.
That is absolutely incredible. The fact that a piece of technology can last that long with the rate at which technology changes just fascinates me.
Exactly. I mean, it really is. And to think that they were, of course, doing this, like you said, all before computers. They had to really think on their toes as they were putting these sort of things together.
And that's amazing. And if you guys are just joining us, once again, we're at the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss a single video. And we have a question from a viewer here. Nothing But Disney asks, what's the oldest thing here?
Ooh, that's a good question. I believe that may be down in our first room when we get into some of Walt's early years. We do have some family artifacts in there, including some buttons from the wedding dress of Walt Disney's mom. So, of course, that would have been in the 19th century. And we also have a fiddle belonging to Walt Disney's dad, Elias. So I think a couple of those 19th century artifacts might be some of our oldest. Of course, that's even before Walt's time there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we've seen a bunch of color here. What are we looking at right here?
Well, we're seeing all these colors because Walt Disney takes a trip through countries of Central and South America, very colorful places in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and he's going to be down there with a hand-selected group of artists to actually create stories and artwork based on what they see. And of course, those create great films like Saludos Amigos and The Three Caballeros.
I love the color. It's so vibrant and beautiful. I love it.
Really is. It really stands out, and I think it went a long way towards just kind of informing people and also giving them great colors and images to look at in those cartoons.
So, quick question from the audience. Sophie asks, what's your favorite Walt quote?
Oh, well, I do love the one where he's talking about we have to keep in mind one thing, that it all started with a mouse. And so I think it's a very important thing. Mickey Mouse, of course, being such a popular character still into the modern day. But of course, the success of Mickey early on allowed Walt and his team to go on and to try out all these different projects, feature-length films, television, Disneyland sort of parks. And I think Mickey was really responsible for allowing them to get to that point.
It really all did start with a mouse. Now, we have some cases here. Let's start with this one right here. What is this little piece of jewelry?
So it's a lovely piece of jewelry there that Walt Disney gifted to his wife Lillian as an anniversary gift. You can see little Oscar statuettes on there. Well, that's because Walt found out that he could actually get a tiny little Oscar, like one of those, for every real Oscar that he had won. And so he was thinking of turning it into a necklace. His wife Lillian said she preferred a bracelet. So there we have the lovely Oscar bracelet that Walt gave to Lillian.
Not many people can make a full bracelet out of the Oscars they've won.
Exactly. You have to have won quite a few times to make a bracelet out of it, so it's very important.
Wow. Allison asks, how many people visit the museum each year?
Oh, that's a really great question. We get, I'd say, tens of thousands of people coming through here. It's just a very popular site, and especially around the holidays and the summer breaks, we get just massive amounts of people coming through.
Well, there's so much wonder and magic in the creation of Disney, and a lot of people want to hear about it.
Exactly, and especially Northern Californians. We love all the stuff in Southern California, but we now have a little something up here for us to enjoy.
Yeah. So, what is this?
Well, here you can see we've got some great little mechanical toys that Walt Disney was finding on his travels. And you could say that these sorts of things would have been inspirations for the audio animatronic technology that we might find later on at the Disney theme parks,
which we will get to soon. There's more of that ahead. But before we get there, we have this amazing view of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes, to prove to you that we are in San Francisco, we've got this great view out here, a nice detailed vista looking out towards the Golden Gate there. I never get tired of looking at this view here, James.
I can imagine. It's beautiful. And no, this isn't a green screen. This is real. This is really the Golden Gate Bridge.
It is the real deal, and it makes sense that we have that great natural vista outside of the windows, because at the end of the room, you've got a park bench from Griffith Park. Walt Disney would have been sitting outdoors back when he would watch his young daughters ride the merry-go-round there on weekends, and he'd sit on a bench like this one, could very well have sat upon this very one here, and he'd think to himself, wouldn't it be great if there were a place where kids and adults could have fun together, instead of me just sitting here while the girls go round and round. And of course, that could be another great inspiration for more of a family entertainment of a theme park.
So what you're telling me right now is that this might be the bench that Walt Disney sat on when he came up with Disneyland.
He definitely could have been the place right here.
So if I sit down right now on this bench, I'm going to get the next great idea.
Like, we sure hope so. That's the idea anyway.
Well, it's not coming to me right now, but what is coming to me is a question from the audience. What is your favorite Disneyland ride?
Oh, that's a great question. I think Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, it's a classic. It's very I think it's well rounded. I really enjoy that one.
It really is the best. I mean, it's hard to decide, but at the end of the day, Pirates is really the best ride. So we're entering into this, oh my goodness, a really big room. Let's start over here. So much to take in. What is this?
So here we've got the actual train that Walt Disney would have had running around his home in Los Angeles. You can see it's a smaller train, but he could actually sit back behind the locomotive, operate it just like a big one, and take a ride around his property. And many different people took rides on the cars behind the locomotive, including artist Salvador Dali, actress Mary Pickford, and of course many Disney friends and family members.
That is incredible. I want one of those. If I had a yard and, enough money, I would so have a big train like this.
Exactly. It's fun and it's a good transportation system, so it works.
Wow. Now, if you're just joining us, make sure that... no. If you're just joining us, we are at the Walt Disney Family Museum. And if you're enjoying it, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss a single video. And we actually have a user-submitted question here. Jessica wants to know, what's the most interesting thing about Walt?
Ooh, I think it's really interesting to go in and see how Walt Disney never really gives up. You know, when he gets his mind wrapped around an idea and he thinks it's a good one, he doesn't really listen to naysayers. He goes ahead with it and he just decides to really give it all. He says, kind of go big or go home kind of mentality.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't believe him, and a lot of people doubted him, but he still continued anyways.
Exactly. With things like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a feature-length cartoon, with things like Disneyland, people would sometimes be, hey, this is expensive. I don't know if this is going to get its money back. But Walt says, no, we got to go ahead with this. People are going to love it.
Speaking of Disneyland, I'm looking at a giant model of Disneyland right here.
Yes, you are seeing a model of Disneyland. This is, I'd tell you about my favorite part of the museum. And of course, I would tell you when we got to that $1 million model, well, this is the one, and it is looking at Disneyland, not at one point in its history, but more of a mixture of different time periods. What all the attractions on the model have in common is that Walt Disney was involved with the concept behind all of them at some point in his life.
And is there anything on here that is like strikingly different than how it actually ended up?
Well, of course, besides some of the rides on here that have been retired in the modern day, you do have Space Mountain over there, but it's sort of it's that spiky building there. Sort of more of an early version, though, a concept that Walt may have been more familiar with called Spaceport, may have included both indoor and outdoor portions. So that's definitely a kind of a unique little site on this model. And of course, you also have the Submarine Lagoon ride that, if anyone remembers riding the original attraction back before it closed in the late 90s, there was actually a sea serpent you would see on the ride, and our little model does include a very tiny little sea serpent within that lagoon.
I think no, I can't see it, but it's there. I believe you.
Yes, it's just kind of hidden in there, but it's there.
Wow. We have a user-submitted question. Aldi, hey, Aldi would like to know, how often do exhibits change at the museums?
Well, I'd say we rotate some of our displays about once a year, depending on the display. But of course, we also have special exhibits that come in separate from all this stuff. And usually we'll get at least about 2 of those a year, which is very exciting to see all the new stuff that comes in.
And we also have something else that's exciting. Is this an Autopia car?
You called it. This is an Autopia car here. This is actually a special one. You can see on the license plate there that says Chris. Well, Chris is Walt Disney's first grandchild, Diane's first son. And he actually was given this little car by Walt himself. So a nice gift from your grandparent. You can have your own Autopia car that you can ride around the Disney studio lot and just have a good time. And of course, very much inspired by the Autopia attraction cars that other people could ride at Disneyland.
Boy, I wish my grandpa was Disney so I could get an Autopia car. Can I get one of those? Where do you get one of those?
I wish I could pass it along to you. Great.
Well, okay, so we're moving on. We have some TVs here. What's going on here?
So this bank of televisions is reminding us that Walt Disney was very involved in television production in the 1950s. It was originally a great way to help sort of foot the bill for Disneyland, but he did stick with it even after Disneyland was a success, and of course created great shows like the Mickey Mouse Club and Zorro.
Wow, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Walt Disney fund Disneyland with TV?
Yes, that was very important. ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, did strike up a little deal with Walt. They did help foot the bill for Disneyland Park, but in exchange, Walt Disney was going to be creating a television show just for them. That television show, too, was called Disneyland.
And you know what? It worked out. The other networks were like, maybe not, but ABC was like, this is a good opportunity, and it worked. So for those of you just joining, we are at the Walt Disney Family Museum, and we are with tour guide Tyler, host James. And if you're liking what you're seeing, subscribe, ring that bell. We got a user question right here. Are there hidden Mickeys in the museum?
Well, I don't know how well hidden they are, but there is a carpet in our theater area that does include a recurring pattern that does kind of have 3 circles conjoined together that really kind of make for a hidden Mickey look to them.
So there's a bit of a hidden Mickey there, and a lot of not so hidden Mickeys, because this is the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm seeing another big old piece of gear here. I love this kind of stuff. So what is going on right here?
So this is optical printer number 2. It's a fantastic device that would have been used on many Disney films, including Mary Poppins, and would have really helped to combine film to make things like Dick Van Dyke, the actor Dick Van Dyke, dancing with animated penguins in Mary Poppins a reality.
Wow, and how long was this in circulation? How long was this making films?
So just like the multi-plane camera concept, the optical printers did help filmmakers to composite film going well on, I'd say, into the 70s and 80s. So really, again, a lot of longevity in this machine.
Oh, man. And speaking of Mary Poppins, the new one just went into production, Mary Poppins Returns, so keep an eye out for that. We are now entering into is this the animatronics section?
That's right, that's the audio animatronics section.
I hear a parrot going off over there. What's that all about?
So that is Pepe, our Enchanted Tiki Room bird. Of course, the Enchanted Tiki Room was the first Disney attraction to actually use full-scale audio animatronics. So we like to showcase that here. And, of course, really show off that Walt Disney was able to apply the sort of animation they've been pioneering over the years to 3 dimensions with the robotics of audio animatronics.
And this was like invented for Disneyland, right?
That's right, yes. There was really the sort of technology they were developing for their attractions at the New York World's Fair and, of course, the Disney theme parks.
We have another question here. Alvin would like to know, what inspired you to work here?
Well, like I'm sure many of you are, I'm a very big Disney fan. And I also really love history. So, of course, with a museum like this, you got a very big combination of both those subjects.
Oh, wow. Huge Disney fan. I'm sure everyone there is Disney fans. Let's go and wrap this up with the last thing. I'm seeing some concept art here. What's all this about?
Oh, yes. So this is concept art for Walt's plan for Epcot, or the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. So you can see in the center there, you have sort of more of the high-density downtown apartments and that sort of thing. And then spanning out a little bit of the less dense open areas like parks and, of course, the suburbs themselves. So Walt Disney actually saw this as a living, breathing community where people would be able to come live, work, and test new ideas for urban development. And of course, down here on the floor, we've got sort of an artist depiction based on that concept art. Sort of gives you an idea of, again, these sort of circles surrounding each other with all the different segments of the city to be united together and would be interconnected by monorails and people movers, the sort of transportation attractions you could find at the Disney parks.
Well, maybe, just maybe, it will still happen, and this will be the future of our society. So thank you so much for taking us on this tour. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you really enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss a single Disney live stream or video. I had such a blast. Thank you again for taking me along on this journey and taking everyone along. I hope you all had as much fun as me. I had a blast. It was wonderful. And we'll see you guys next time.